Today's a bit of a strange day for me. See, I have this family engagement that takes precedent over all other events that I usually get involved in, which means I won't be able to reply to comments as much as I would want to. So I do apologise to anyone who does leave a comment today, but this is the one day of the year, I promise, just the one day of the year, where I'm not going to be about. I might explain at a later date. Now, the subject of today's video is an article that was linked to me by someone called Bob on Facebook about fat people making excuses, which is the gist of the entire article, where 6 people give stories explaining why they are fat and proud of their fat bodies. In fact, the title is Why We Are Proud of Our Fat Bodies. I'm not entirely sure you should be using the F word like that. You're normalising it. I'd hate to see what happens to that unicorn tattoo at the top when you inevitably have to lose the weight, either by surgery, weight loss, or cremation.
It's alive!
The first story comes from a Courtney from Grimsby, which I believe also has her Twitter handle, or Instagram handle, I don't care enough to check. But it's nice to know you're body positive, and female, I think. I've been big from a young age. When I was 10, I was diagnosed with an underactive thyroid, so each year I've put on more weight. Well, it's rather interesting you mention this, because that would be 14 years ago, which would be 2004. This is important, because I had to do a little digging to find out if there was any treatment for an underactive thyroid, and as luck would have it, there is. Courtesy of the NHS, it's usually treated by a daily hormone replacement tablet called levothyroxine. And just to be clear here, because you might try and say, oh well, it wasn't around 14 years ago. Well, if 14 years ago wasn't 1927 when it was created, then you'd be right. But it is one of the most essential medicines recognised by the World Health Organization, to the point where levothyroxine was the most commonly prescribed medication in America as of 2015. So the treatment was there for you. Now, levothyroxine doesn't have any side effects, so it would help you eventually because it is replacing a hormone you are missing. Therefore, if you were on levothyroxine, you would be getting the help you needed at a young age. Minus the annual blood tests that you'd need to take, you'd be fine. In fact, your excuse of gaining weight would not be valid anymore. I've decided to take a more proactive stance against people who use thyroid problems as an excuse, because even I've used it as an excuse and recognised it as a valid excuse when it clearly is not, when there is help for those with thyroid issues. Yes, okay, hashtag not all people are helped by them, but the majority of cases benefit from it. If it were not the case, people wouldn't be on it. Oh, if only people did response videos that could be cherry-picked. I was always really active, so it was strange. New lumps and bumps formed that I didn't know what to do with. I was bullied a lot throughout my school years and I hated my body. Absolutely hated it. It really affected my mental health. You're not alone with that. It's not something exclusive to being fat. People who are thin, people who are short, tall, dyslexic. It's not something unique to you for being fat. Although, because you haven't indicated in this very short story what kind of childhood you had, what kind of food you ate, just because you were active doesn't mean your body was taking in the right food. I have to consider these, because I don't believe for a second you were taking any medication even though you were diagnosed with an underactive thyroid. And as you have failed to mention it here, I'm inclined to believe you did not. When I was in college, I went on a big, long-term diet and lost 5 stone. Congratulations. I was a lot slimmer, though I was still big. Well, there is one of those consequences that rises when you put on lots of weight. You lose the weight, but the way your body has structured itself, built itself to carry that rather obscene amount of weight, means that your body has to take time to shrink down. It's not something that can be done just because you've lost weight. Look at Boogie. He's a perfect example here of someone that will probably never be, well, he'll always be Beachbody ready, let's face it. The man's gorgeous, but he'll never be on like Eugenia Cooney level, or even healthy version of Eugenia Cooney, which doesn't actually exist. In fact, it is a mythical creature, and I can't wait for Firebox to create an alcoholic beverage called the Eugenia Cooney Tears Tequila. It might just be water though, with glitter in. If we're going to be truly accurate, it'll be nothing with glitter. Fantastic. Make the glitter serrated, so when you drink it, it cuts you a bit. It seemed accurate. Though I was still big, I realised I wasn't a better person. I wasn't suddenly beautiful. I wasn't suddenly amazing. I was still the same person, but a lot less happy. Happiness is subjective. This is the problem a lot of people have when they are totally blind and oblivious to what happiness is. You losing weight, and the reasoning you have for losing it, doesn't mean you're going to be happy. If the end goal is to be thin because you think thin makes you happy, then you don't know what happiness is. And simply to be thin, you've just done that. That's all you've done. You've not changed your life and your lifestyle, because those would benefit being happy. Whether you be fat or thin is a consequence of that, and also somewhat irrelevant, to be honest. If you want to be happy, it doesn't matter if you're big or small. It really doesn't. What matters is how you feel. If what you're going to do, though, is use an anecdote, which is what this is, to pass off a dangerous message about accepting oneself in being big, then we need to talk about that. Yes, okay, it's a personal choice. I get it. But the moment you start putting ideas out there like this, it becomes free for criticism. And I'm okay criticizing this because I don't believe for 1 second you were actually as proactive as you think. Losing 5 stone, I will say though, congratulations. But I would like to know what you started at. If you were still already really big, I'd argue you might have been around 20 stone. Because that would make some sense that you would have built the weight and always been a big person, built the weight, your body would have built around that, accommodated for excessive weight. So it makes more sense that when you did lose the weight, you weren't actually doing anything good for yourself. You were just getting rid of what your body was already holding onto comfortably. Then I discovered Instagram. I remember seeing the first girl that used a body positive hashtag and I thought she looked amazing. Well, some people are chubby chasers. But one night, someone commented on all my pictures saying that I was fat and looked like someone in Star Wars. I'm guessing they said Jabba the Hutt, because that's the only character I can think of that you might resemble. I think it's the chin part. I messaged her and asked why she was doing it, why she found it fun to hurt someone like that. She replied and later admitted that she had hang-ups about her own body. She said she felt fat. It is highly likely this person lied to you, and they were just trolling you for additional lols. Why does anyone do anything? Is the question you want to ask. The answer to that, by the way, is because I can. Over the years, I've noticed on a number of videos that I've done when I've commented on people who are big, who do fat acceptance movement or body positive stuff, people always say that when they see the people that I'm commenting on, they suddenly feel the urge to go to the gym, to skip a meal, to reevaluate their own diet, or they generally feel better about themselves because they thought they were already a land whale, and then they see people like you and realise, no, they're borderline anorexic, by comparison. And as a quick aside, because I know I'm going to forget this, I am not against body positivity. I am totally against the fat acceptance movement. I don't want to conflate the two because I think there's nothing wrong with being positive about the body you have. It's when you force that down my throat I take issue with, of course. It's the same with any kind of group idea, ideology, nonsense like that. And when it comes to body positivity, I think it has been co-opted by the fat acceptance movement to serve the need to force-feed others. Probably the same garbage you've been force-feeding yourselves for years. Do you even chew your food? Anyway, I want to finish this one blog. There are 6 of them, but I'll focus on one today. It made me think that often people are just pushing their own insecurities out. Someone will look at me and think, I don't want to be that size. I wouldn't be happy that size. So why should you be happy when you're fat? Most of the people I know that are happy are fat, but the majority of those people are retired, and as far as I'm concerned, when you're at that age, who gives a fuck? That's a pretty accurate summary, to be honest. When you're younger, though, you are physically, to an extent, handicapped depending on what you are trying to do. For example, if I went to play football with some friends, and someone that was morbidly obese said they wanted to play central attacking midfielder, I don't think I'd want to pass the ball to them, because I'm not convinced they'd be able to play too long. I mean, they could knock everyone out the way, but then they'd just get carded for it. So I would say in that instance, it is of course circumstance-based, and the type of person you are depends on how happy you are. You don't just get happy by being something. It makes me sad to think about people who are struggling so much that they think the only way to make themselves feel better is to put someone down. Well, ponage for the win. That's not the way. But do you know the way? You can't be comparing yourself to other people. Well, I'm pretty unique. Look at me. I'm gorgeous. I'm also not someone that does that, personally. And I want to inject myself into this because I think you are right, you shouldn't compare yourself to other people. There's nothing wrong with doing it though. And I think it's very important to stress that all you're doing right now is not actually addressing your own hang-ups. Why you chose to do something, why you never actually took medication for a condition that could have been treated at a younger age which would have helped you live a longer, healthier life. And I say that healthier because you are not healthy. You are morbidly obese. And I think it's important to understand here that eventually you are going to become a burden to someone. As if the NHS doesn't spend excess amounts of money dealing with people your size when they inevitably have health problems. The inevitable health problems that are continually raised. Maybe you won't be as happy being thin. You will be healthier. And if you continue down that path, it is highly likely you will find yourself accepted into a group of people who help you, motivate you. And eventually you find a different type of happiness. A kind that you think doesn't exist. Or you don't believe is the kind of happiness you would want, but since you haven't had the other kind of happiness, you don't really have any kind of comparison. Anyway, there are 6 more people in this, and if you are at all interested in me covering all of them, because some of them are hilarious, I might wear my Joker outfit for the next one, then please let me know in the comments below, and I will go through Enam, Katie, Mercedes, Tara, and Sharon. The remaining 5. Courtney was first. Classy bitch. Anyway, I hope everyone has a lovely Sunday, and thank you all for listening.
Oh, goddowns.
In your ass.
Imagine my shock